Welcome back, everyone. This is week 3 of Healthy Through the Holidays, where we will discuss optimizing your health with nutrition. Let's dive in. So, last week we discussed diving a little bit deeper into our nutrition habits. Week 1, we discussed nutrition foundations. This week is really building on nutrition foundations and why the categories of food groups, the volumes of those food groups really matter for your overall health, particularly because of our gut health. So first we have to understand, why is our gut health important for our overall functioning, our overall health? So in our large intestine, the very end of our gut, we have billions of strains of bacteria, some more beneficial for health, some less beneficial for our health. And the foods that we eat affect the amount of those different strains of bacteria and the type of bacteria that's present. Right on top of our large intestine, where all that bacteria lives, is actually about 70 to 80% of our immune cells. So our immune system is actually very close to our large intestine, where all of those bacteria live. And there's pretty frequent communication between the two. And so it's really important that the bacteria in our gut are healthy and diverse, and the lining between those gut bacteria and the immune function is pretty solid so that they can communicate effectively. When there's problems in that communication, in that lining or the bacteria in our gut, this is part of the reason we can see chronic inflammation in the body. So acute inflammation is a good thing, right? That's just an immune response. When you cut your hand, your immune system reacts to help stop the bleeding and start the healing process, right? But chronic inflammation is where your immune system is constantly sending signals, inflaming different parts of your body constantly, which can cause problems, increase your risk for certain chronic diseases. If you want to dive a little bit deeper into gut health and how all of this connects, there's some great research out there, some projects like the American Gut Project or the book Fiber Fueled, written by a gastroenterologist, really dive into some interesting topics on this. So, thinking about nutrition, now that we know there's a big link between inflammation, disease development, and our gut health, how do we best support our gut? And they found through nutrition research that the people who had the healthiest gut bacteria diversity, the healthiest lining of their gut, were consuming 30 or more whole plant-based foods every week. So there's some reasons for this. Whole plant-based foods tend to be high in fiber. Fiber is the fuel for our healthy gut bacteria. When we're not getting enough fiber, we're basically starving our healthy gut bacteria, right? Healthy gut bacteria need fiber to create short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids help increase the integrity of our gut lining, so that barrier between your immune system and the bacteria in your gut, keeping that healthy. Short-chain fatty acids also have other anti-inflammatory and healthy effects throughout the body. So fiber is super important, but it's not the only thing. There's different types of fiber that we get from various types of foods and other nutrients that we need to encourage diversity of healthy gut bacteria. Having a good diversity of bacteria helps prevent less healthy bacteria from taking over. So when we get a diversity of those plants, we see better diversity of the bacteria in our gut. So if only it could just be a fiber supplement, right? And that could cover all our bases, but we really need the diversity of those plants to see these benefits. Don't throw away your fiber supplements. They have some positives too, but they don't replace getting those whole foods, right? So we're going to start with foods to lose or minimize, things that are less healthy for our gut. So as you may have guessed, high amounts of ultra-processed foods are a lot harder on our gut health. They promote less healthy gut bacteria, overgrowth, and chronic inflammation. Ultra-processed food examples are heavily processed meats, such as sausage and deli. Other high processed foods Think of really shelf-stable foods with a lot of ingredients on the list added for color, taste, texture, and shelf stability. Foods with high amount of added sugar are one of those ingredients added for taste. Sugar gets a bad rap, but it really does work differently depending on where you're getting it from, right? As far as calories are concerned, right? A gram of sugar is a gram of sugar. But if you're getting that from an apple with all the fiber and the water to support your gut health, that's going to be a little bit different from the sugar you consume from a processed food as far as how it affects your overall health. Trans fat is another ingredient added to processed foods, as well as used in baking. You'll find it in pastries, pie crust, cookies. You'll also find it in fried foods, such as fried chicken and French fries. For all of these foods, you don't have to get rid of them entirely. It says foods to lose because it's a catchy phrase. But a good rule of thumb is try to work these down to 10% or less of your overall consumption. And now, more importantly, diving into the foods to choose, the foods that are actually going to support our gut integrity, our gut health, our immune function, and just your overall health nutritionally. Fatty fish has omega-3 fatty acids, which have been shown to be anti-inflammatory, healthy for your gut, healthy for your overall health. These come from salmon, sardines, herring, lots of different types of fatty fish. If you're not a fish eater, you can get omega-3s from flax seeds, walnuts, chia seeds, hemp, edamame, and algae oil. Nuts and seeds also have other benefits besides omega-3 fatty acids. They also have protein, healthy fats, and fiber that all support our gut. Leafy greens not only have some fiber in them, but tons of different vitamins and minerals and nutrients that support your gut microbial diversity. Beans and lentils are a fiber powerhouse. There are tons of fiber per gram in beans and lentils, along with other healthy nutrients in them. So we want to get those about 3 times a week. Some other high fiber food examples are whole grains, root vegetables, peas, berries, and other fruits. 5+ servings a day of fruits and vegetables. There's a reason we want to consume that, right? Not only for the fiber content, but for the magnesium, other vitamins and minerals that we get from cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, root vegetables, fruits, mushrooms. A good way to think about this is a diversity of colors in your diet. Different colors tend to be associated with different nutrients. If you're getting a lot of different colors, you're probably getting a pretty good balance of produce in your diet. So those are the foods to choose, some examples of foods that are going to help support your gut health. So going back to the Healthy Plate Guide, we might have a better understanding now of why we want those starchy vegetables and whole grains, nuts, seeds, avocados, fruits and vegetables, all of those things, the diversity of those foods are going to help support the diversity of your gut, which will help your immune system function the way it should and support your overall body and your health. So this could be a potential goal that we look at, is looking at 30+ whole plant-based foods per week. And that can be a fun project to count up your whole plant-based foods that you're eating and see how close you are to this goal right here. All right, that's my lecture on gut health and how it's so important for your body to fuel your gut. And we can get these some healthy gut foods from holiday foods: pumpkin, salad greens, seeds and nuts, green beans, cranberries, oranges, ginger and cinnamon potatoes, celery, rosemary. All of these ingredients, foods, tend to be a part of our holiday meals. In week 4, you're going to get a cookbook, which will give you some ideas of how to use some of these foods in your holiday meal prep planning. What you're going to get this week are there benefits of fiber handout, and weight fluctuations explained. So be sure to check those out before you move into next week. And then we just have 1 week left where we'll talk about overcoming barriers and sustaining your nutrition habits. Thanks so much for joining all. See you next week.